So the requirement for Real ID is about to go in effect, and I think it's going to impact a lot of cruisers. So I've got a kind of a cruisers beware story for you. Plus, I got to tell you about a cruiser that I'm pretty sure Royal Caribbean should ban. Yeah, all that and a lot more on today's episode. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Little Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. Well, it's a cruise show, you guys. Cruise show for your face on a Thursday. And May the 7th, that is the day. This is a wild story. Back in 2025, the Real ID initiative was passed. And I believe the deadline just keeps getting extended. But 20 years later, there's now a requirement that you have Real ID when you want to fly on a domestic airline. Now, there are some exceptions. There are some states that have an enhanced driver's license, and that will also work. But for most states, you have to have Real ID to fly domestically. And I think this is going to impact cruisers that don't have it. Now, the major cruise lines are not saying that you need Real ID to cruise. That's the good thing. Passport is the preferred form of ID for cruise ships, but for closed loop travel, most cruise lines will allow you to use your state issued ID and a birth certificate. But honestly, the requirement at the cruise terminal doesn't really matter until you get to the cruise terminal, and a lot of people fly to their cruises. And so if you don't have the Real ID starting May the 7th, you're not going to be able to take a flight domestically unless you have, I'm going to throw up on the screen, these are some alternative things that you can have. But for most people that don't have like a passport, you want to make sure that you either have a Real ID driver's license or a Real ID or an enhanced driver's license. Like, I don't know, they've been talking about it for 20 years. So I guess the assumption probably is that everybody has it by now. So maybe this isn't going to be a big problem, but certainly be aware that starting on May the 7th, if you go to the airport and you don't have that documentation that I showed you on the screen, or if you don't have the Real ID, you might have trouble flying domestically. And look, I'll keep beating this drum. You really should have a passport, because Real ID, no Real ID, birth certificate, whatever, none of that matters when it comes to international flights. Certainly you can get on a cruise ship, closed loop travel with just your birth certificate and a form of ID. But if you get stuck in a foreign country and you want to come back and you don't have a passport, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to have to go like to the embassy and get if you travel, once a year, get yourself a passport. It's going to be worth the money. I do want to give a quick update from a story I was talking about the other day. The Viking Polaris had a norovirus outbreak, and in the source material I was working through, it told me a passenger count and then a crew count of like double the passenger count, like 600 crew members. And astutely, a lot of people in the comments said, I think that's too many crew members. And so thank you for the correction. I did go out and look it up on the internets. The Viking Polaris has a crew of 256 members, and the cruise ship can accommodate 378 passengers. So originally I was saying 378 passengers and like 650 crew members, which seems crazy. It's still a lot of crew members for the amount of passengers that are on that cruise ship. And so it still does suggest a high level of service on the Viking Polaris. So that's the correction. That was a good call out. And I tell you what, if you want to get to know crew members, let me tell you about this next opportunity. Princess Cruises has announced its 2027 World Cruise Grand Circle Pacific Voyage. Is that going to fit on a billboard? This is on the Coral Princess. It's a 129-day itinerary that will visit 61 destinations, 20 countries, and 3 continents. And look, if 129 days, too many days for you, they do have a couple shorter versions of this cruise. Not much shorter, but a couple shorter versions. The 129-day voyage starts in Fort Lauderdale on January the 6th, 2027. That's going to go Fort Lauderdale, end in Los Angeles 129 days later. Or you could jump on a 114-day round trip from Los Angeles to Los Angeles starting on January the 21st, 2027. Or you could do a 110-day voyage from Los Angeles that ends in Vancouver that also starts on January the 21st. You figure, like, if you're doing the 110, why wouldn't you do 114? Maybe you want to get off in Vancouver. This cruise is going to represent a lot of different bucket list items. First, if you leave from Fort Lauderdale, you're going to do a Panama Canal transit. And then the rest of it is over there, from the west coast of North America all the way over into Southeast Asia, Japan. You're going to go south down into Australia and New Zealand. I think you're going to see like 23 UNESCO sites. Going to have some late night stays and overnight stay. This would be a pretty amazing cruise. I don't know that I could do 129 days at sea. But if you do want to do this, the time to book is before October the 3rd, 2025. Princess is offering some incentives up to $1,500 on board credit, free Wi-Fi, some air credits, other things like that. Seems like they're really trying to get this ship booked up early. Yeah, tempting, but again, I don't know that I could do 129 days on a cruise ship. Could you do that? If you had, say you had the time and the money, do you think you could live at sea for 129 days? And I guess since we're talking about exotic locales, we have a cruise season ending in a place that's, at least from North America, we don't really go to that often. Rio de Janeiro, their 2024-2025 season has ended. I've never been to Brazil, and certainly the city I'd want to go to is Rio de Janeiro. I love the fact that they have cruising there. They had a good year. The season just ended with 327,000 cruise passengers that came on 36 cruise ships. Many of those ships went there multiple times. So 107 cruise calls and 78 were from ships that operated there regularly. The last ship that was there was the Costa Diadema on April the 21st, 2025. Season just closed out. A third of a million people went there to Rio on a cruise ship. Yeah, I think that sounds fantastic. Have you ever cruised to South America? Do you recommend it? Leave a comment below. Let's move on and talk about a cruise passenger that Royal Caribbean definitely should ban. But before we do that, let's take a break. Let's take a dance break. Get up, dance break. There you go. Dance break. Did you get up? Did you get up? Okay. Check this post out. This was posted on Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas Facebook page. Please tell me this one's fake. It's got to be fake. Here's what the poster said. Absolutely disgusted with Royal Caribbean, I asked very politely how to dispose of my adult nappies and was told to use the bin in your cabin. Excuse me, after 6 natural births and a slow reacting sphincter, I don't have the luxury of time or tidy little poos. I had no choice but to toss them off the balcony. Don't you dare judge me. I've earned every leak and every liner. Very disappointed. Might contact a current affair. So let's break down what this issue is. There's a person that has to use adult diapers, and there's no shame in that. Certainly our bodies don't always do exactly what we want them to do. And there are things like adult diapers to help people with challenges deal with that. Now, you cannot flush an adult diaper down the plumbing of a cruise ship. I've mentioned it before. Cruise ships provide you with the John Wick toilet paper. You know, the toilet paper that don't take any crap off of anybody. It's like a half a ply, if it's that. It's toilet paper that you can see through, and you gotta wipe up with that, and then that's okay in the plumbing system. But anything else like wipes or diapers or female hygiene products, they don't want that in the plumbing system. They just want you to throw it in the trash. And that's the answer. I mean, there is really no other answer. If you have something that you would normally, I don't guess you would even flush an adult diaper. Like, what would you normally do with an adult diaper? You just throw it in the trash, right? This passenger does not like that answer. And so they're openly saying that they are throwing their adult diapers over the balcony, which you can't throw anything off of a cruise ship. This is an insta-ban situation. Could you imagine if someone 2-decks up threw their adult diaper and for some reason it didn't go away far enough from the ship to hit the water? Again, you shouldn't be throwing stuff off the cruise ship, but there's all kinds of problems with that. Say that the diaper wasn't properly secured and there's some blowback, or say the whole diaper. This is kind of a gross story. So we don't have to beleaguer the point. We don't have to wait there for everything to come out of this and people question you while you're still waiting there, because that's a whole nother issue too. Okay, what do you think? Should Royal Caribbean ban this cruiser? And I guess more sympathetically, Do you think there's another option for her other than just throwing the diaper in the trash? I don't know of another option. Is there anything else you guys can think of? Is there such a thing as like an adult diaper genie? You know, like they get the diaper genies for kids? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Here's the big question for today. It's multiple choice. So get down into the pinned comment and participate. How much money per day should you give your room steward? Should you be giving him $2 a day? Should you be giving him $100 a day? Again, I'll leave some choices down there for you. I'd love to hear your input. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Make sure you check this video out next. YouTube knows you haven't seen it. And of course, you should subscribe for more. This is Tony for La Lido Loca. Until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.